Shalom, Alan, welcome everybody. Before we begin, let me just make sure that Ani Losang is with us. Anila, are you here? I can see you in the...
Yes, I am here.
Oh, great, because I didn't see you in the participants list. Okay, great. Since you're here, we can really begin now. So again, Shalom and welcome everybody to our Yom Kippur online retreat. It's good to see many familiar faces, and I see we also have some new friends with us, at least new to me. And we were really looking forward to seeing you in person at the beautiful open landscapes of the desert at Sde Boker. But apparently our collective karma had a different plan for us, right? Different plans for us. So because of the current circumstances, the management or the board of the Dharma Friends of Israel decided that this Yom Kippur it will be better if we meet on Zoom like this, or just like we used to do on those good old Corona days, right? מה שנקרא געגועי לימי הקורונה. And so here we are, after all, and still together as a community of lay practitioners, practicing the Dharma, and still very fortunate to receive teachings and practice the path with our beloved teacher, Ani Losang, and I'm sure everybody is really grateful for her presence and support at these difficult times and for so many years now. So on behalf of the Dharma Friends of Israel and myself, Anila, we really appreciate it and we thank you so much. You've probably seen already the schedule on this event's page at the Dharma Friends of Israel website. And I've also posted a link in the chat box. And in the bottom of the same page, you have all the details of practicing generosity by giving dana. I think it's fair enough to share with you that this year we'll especially appreciate it because the way things turned out to be, and we only canceled the physical retreat a few days ago. And because the cancellation was so late, we still had to pay 50% for about 20 rooms that about 60 participants were supposed to be in. So it would really be a great help, and we'll really appreciate it if you'll be able to open up your hearts and kind of help us covering these heavy financial expenses. וכמובן שאנחנו גם רוצים להכיר תודה ולתמוך כלכלית במורה היקרה שלנו, ויש גם הרבה הוצאות סביב הטיסה והאירוח שלה בארץ, אז באמת שממש מוזמנים ומוזמנות לפתוח את הלב ולתרגל נדיבות. And we really thank you very much for your generosity and support. Personally, I'm very excited and feeling really grateful for having this wonderful opportunity of leading another Yom Kippur retreat along with Ani Losang after a really good retreat we led together last year at Sde Boker. And like last Yom Kippur, most of the sessions that I'll guide, except for one, will be in Hebrew, and the rest naturally will be in English, although I suspect that Ani Losang is really getting close to surprising us with some teachings in Hebrew from her too, you know, by now. Okay, yes, so I think that's about it from my side on behalf of the Dharma Friends of Israel. And I really hope that our time together will be meaningful, supporting, inspiring, and beneficial for the sake of all living beings. And without further ado, Shalom and welcome, Ani Losang.
Hello. Thank you very much, David. And also I have to thank David that he's doing this with me, because I think it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, that we were in Nesamim and many people, and the Yom Kippur retreat, I find this very heavy. It's very heavy responsibility because, we talk about forgiving, we talk about questions are always around kind of not easy things like abuse and these kind of things. And then when the group is so big, then I don't know the people and I don't know what to say. If I would be maybe just one-to-one with them, maybe then I could feel or sense their, where they're at a little bit, but then in such a big group. So I said, I'm not doing this anymore. Thank you very much. I find it too heavy. It's too much responsibility. And then we kind of came up with this idea, maybe somebody could, you could do it with somebody together. So I said, yeah, okay. And I suggested two people. One was David, and the other one was Yael Shalev. So that's it. I said, with those two people, I would feel okay and comfortable. So thank you very much, David, because otherwise we wouldn't be here doing this step, because it's also, you might know, and probably you don't see behind the scenes, it's also very complicated every time because of the food, because some people want to fast and some other people don't want to fast. And of course, me, very selfish as I am, because I feel fasting is very easy for me. So I said, okay, we're not giving them food and that's it. And if they want to eat, it's fine with me, but they have to bring their own food. And then, the Dharma friends, of course, luckily, they're not as harsh as I am. They say, no, we cannot do that. We have to provide food. So it's always very complicated. Of course, for you, much easier. Now, you being at home, of course, more difficult, and you have to make your own decision what you want to do. I mean, even if we would be in stable care, you would have to make your own decision also. So the plan was that we would talk today, if we would have been in stable care. The plan was that we would talk a little bit about the three principal aspects of the path. And I was given this very nice job to talk about renunciation, which nobody likes to hear, because that's the first of these three principal aspects of the path. Maybe there's many people there that I don't know. So I don't know how much you know about Buddhism. There are people there that I know, that you know what I'm talking about. So, but I will be talking about the Buddhist path. So the Buddhist path, and some of you might have heard about, separating from the four attachments. Maybe I give you a little pause, and you can go and dig in your brain. Those who have heard it before, oh yeah, what are those four? Anybody remembers? Separating or departing from the four attachments, because it gives you the whole path. It's a little bit the same as the three principal aspects of the path, but I kind of like this because departing from the four attachments, because it shows me where I'm at, and it shows me, what is my motivation? I mean, where do my interests go? Yeah, and not just interest, but also effort, resources, time, right? So maybe we can just start with a reflection on this, because it's very personal. I mean, Buddhism can give you lots of tools, lots of kind of different paths almost, and then you have to decide what works for you or not. And the only way you can see what works for you or not is when you try it out, of course. So let's just do maybe 2-3 minutes that everybody, you go back to your own existence. I don't know how to say. You just stay with yourself and forget about the dana, and we're not in stable care, you're at home, the war, family, Yom Kippur, whatever, and you take the word spiritual practice. We're not even taking Buddhism. Let's take spiritual practice. So it makes it a bit more neutral, because I also know that Very often during Yom Kippur, quite a lot of people actually come who are not Buddhists, but they are somehow attracted to Buddhism, don't really want to become Buddhists, is fine. But they're trying to find something meaningful during these 2 days. So, okay, spiritual practice, you go into your own mind and you look, what does it mean for me? We don't have to share it. You don't have to say, because I say it's very personal. And we do that for 1 minute is enough. My resources, my time, my thoughts, my concerns, my worry, where do they go? Okay, then, of course, my concerns, are they meaningful? Now, again, forget about philosophy, religion, whatever. For you personally, are they meaningful? Of course, the first thing that comes up is yes. Are they meaningful in the long run? And long run, I mean more than just this life. Because I think, no, you don't need to share, Adriana, it's okay.
Okay.
No, we don't need to share, because I only have 1 hour. And but you can, if you want, you can put it in the chat and then people can just read it, that's fine. If you want to share something, that's okay. So, the thing that we usually do, it's just really, concerned with this life, especially at the moment, because life is so difficult. There's problems everywhere. There's a lot of uncertainty everywhere. Will this ever end? What is it? And then we tend to forget, I think, that even before the war was on, even before 7th of October, we had a lot of problems. I have a lot of discussions with people here in Israel, but there was always an enemy somewhere. There was a bigger enemy outside the borders. There was an enemy that was maybe the neighbor. There was an enemy, maybe there was somebody in the family, whatever. There seems to be always problems. I mean, this is, it's hardly anybody ever comes and says, oh, wow, I'm so well and everything is going really good. And, we're not discussing difficult things. There are some people like this, but they're very rare. I think I can count them on one hand. Because why? Because then life is not interesting also. If there's no problems and we don't need to sort out somebody else's problems, then, people ask me, how are you? I say, I'm well, and it's true. And that's it, conversation finished, because what are you going to say otherwise? But then, after a while, then also things are coming out and all this. So I think especially now that times is so difficult, you're looking, because there seems to be no solution to this whole thing. I mean, to me and to many people that I talked about, because it's so complicated. But don't forget, you will die at one moment. You will leave this country. In Buddhist terms, there will be another rebirth. Not necessarily Jewish and not necessarily human also. So we don't know. So this is why when I talked about these, departing from the fourth attachment, it's kind of pointing us in the direction, we all want happiness. Nobody wants to suffer. But the happiness we want is not that happiness we want lasting happiness. We don't want to have happiness that is kind of that finishes after a while, and then again we have to sort out the problem, and then again, but this is what we're doing. I mean, this is daily life. Go before the 7th of October. Now, please don't think that I think the 7th of October is not important and it's a small thing. It's a huge thing. It is really, really terrible. But also, please don't forget that even before that, you had problems, you had worries, you had difficulties. And a lot of energy went into sorting them out. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't sort out problems, but it's also good to see, am I also taking care of my mind, kind of thing, that when I try to sort out problems, that my mind is peaceful, my mind is wise, my mind is full of compassion. So when we go back to the thing that everybody wants happiness and nobody wants to suffer, it's like when we talk about renunciation or giving things up or departing from certain attachments, then that shouldn't be made out of fear, and it shouldn't be done or made out of duty or whatever, like this whole thing, renouncing, I have to give something up that I like very much. Yeah, okay, can be. You give something up that you like very much, but for something that is better than what you are attached to. So very often kind of people, the word renunciation is not such a good word because it has to be, I don't deserve to be happy, I don't deserve to have pleasures and all these kinds of things. This is usually what we hear. So the first one kind of attachment that we are letting go is, it's quite harsh, right? Where it says, like, if you are attached to the pleasures of this life, you're not even a spiritual practitioner. Oh, how does that sound? Not so good, does it? It's like, wow, yeah. So, but you see, we can do all the things we do now in order to have a healthier body, in order to have a better mind. But again, better mind. What is a better mind? For me, a better mind is not to be under the control of anger, desire, and especially wrong views, like being attached to my own well-being and then forgetting the well-being of others, and also kind of views that my opinions are the only right ones and other people's opinions are not so right, or my what I like everybody else should also like, or whatever, these kinds of opinions that come from me, ego, right? So we're totally controlled by this I, me kind of thing, and we're trying to make that one happy, and we do a lot of things, like, as I said, yoga, jogging, going to the beach, meditation, study philosophy, all these other kinds of things. So we can continue to do that, but to also kind of make the motivation a little bit wider, right? So that even if we do physical things, that we also think may that also affect my body. Okay, may that, if I do physical things, may that also affect my mind, and in what way? So this is what I'm saying. This again is a very personal thing. We have values that seem to be innate. And then we get very upset when other people don't live these values, isn't it? Like lying, stealing, cheating, being stingy, not being concerned about others and all this. And we don't really look, am I living these values? And I think for me, when I said what is spiritual practice, a spiritual path is that these values, get expressed not just in views and ideas, but really actions of body, speech, and mind. And that is, for me, this would be a spiritual practice, that I see values, not just me happy, but also everybody else. Then values like patience, generosity, peace of mind, being concerned about others, being able to step back, and these kind of things. For these are the values that I am putting effort in and trying to to develop the mind that I'm able to lift them. And from time to time, it's really good to ask your friends, if you are courageous, what do you think, because sometimes we don't see. Sometimes we see just because I have these values, I'm also living them, but sometimes we don't. But again, this is a very personal thing. So mindfulness, awareness, being really honest with yourself, this comes in, right? The second, so then that means when we look, okay, this life will finish. Now, again, this is views, right? What will come after death? I have the Buddhist view. I do agree with this Buddhist view that the mind will continue after this life. If you have a different view, it's fine with me. I will not argue with you because everybody is entitled to have a view what comes after death. But I think it's really worthwhile to put some effort into it and to really check and look, what is my view? Is at the time of death everything finished or what? If not finished, what will happen? And we can only assume, of course, nobody knows. But then again, the assuming and your views and all this, you check whether this is making a difference in your life, whether it helps you to be able to live your values, and all these kinds of things. So the second thing that we depart from is being attached to be born again and again and again and again in a good place. So from the Buddhist point of view, being born in a good place where there's not too much suffering, where we don't have to fight all the time, where we have a choice whether we want to be kind and honest and non-violent and all this, because nothing is threatening outside. This depends very much on, David was already using the word like collective karma you were using, like it very much depends on previous actions which leave, it's called karma. Karma means action, basically. It's not, what's happening now is not karma, right? What's happening now is a karmic result. Karma is the action that creates the potential for the result. Right, so then to be reborn in a good place, where we have the opportunity to to do spiritual practices in a more peaceful environment because it's easier. Then the first one is ethical conduct, not to have harmed anybody. And whether we have harmed others in a big way in previous lives, this we don't know, right? And we have no idea, but we could have. And so also like emotions like anger, attachment, jealousy, miserliness, arrogance, and all these kinds of things, even though we don't want to have them, but we still have them. So we don't really have a choice. And this, I think we can only notice in ourselves, right? You can get up in the morning and you can think, okay, today, strong decision, and you're a very disciplined person, and strong decision, today I will not get angry, jealous, have attached desire, right? You can decide as much as you want. If the condition comes, you will still get angry. Why? Because we have very strong tendencies and we have very strong habits. And this is kind of repeating itself because we have a habit to react in a certain situation that is kind of similar to the situation that it was in the past, in the same way, and then it creates more and more and more seeds and imprints of the same kind. Can you follow me for the moment? Maybe I'm jumping around a bit too much. I mean, the ones who know about karma and all these kind of things, they know what I'm talking about. So the second attachment that one wants to depart from is, no matter how wonderful my environment is, no matter how peaceful my environment is, no matter how rich I am, no matter how well known I am, and all these kinds of things, as long as I'm still under the control of my not skillful or helpful emotions, as the one that I mentioned, and especially the wrong views that I am totally separate from others, and whatever my senses perceive that this is totally right, and whatever I think about what I see, this is totally right. As long as we have these, what is called wrong views, we will encounter undesirable situations again and again and again and again, or dukkha, or, sometimes called suffering. Kind of, we will encounter situations again and again and again that are stressful and frustrating. So that is the second kind of thing that we want to depart from, is not to be under the control of our wrong views, which makes us act in a way that goes against our values. We don't want to be under the control of these emotions anymore. Then it says, if you still attach to samsara, you are not a Buddhist, basically. I think that's what it says, doesn't it? So the first one is, if you're attached to the pleasures of this life, I know you don't have renunciation, right? If you're attached to the pleasures of this life, you're not a spiritual practitioner. Because whatever effort you do, it will not help you for your next lives, if the motivation is only to be happy now. You can do the same things, but your attitude changes. Kind of, I want to be generous, I want to be kind, I want to be honest, and all these kinds of things, in order to have ethical conduct, so that it goes, I can take this positive karma with me, or that it creates my next existence. Right? So that is, so that's the first one. You can do the same thing, but the motivation is also for next life, not just for this one. Because, I know that you're very low. No, I don't want to say these things, because who am I to say what you should do as Israelis? I don't know. Anyway, but so that you do have an interest in being born in a good place, in a peaceful place, or in whatever place you would like to be. So we all the spiritual practice that we do is for that, or all the good things, so-called, that we do is for that. The second one, we understand, even if outside everything seems to be okay, even if the body is healthy, I still have negative emotions, I still have wrong views. All this is called samsara, being born again and again and again and again, under the influence of these habits and tendencies. So then the third one that you're giving up is kind of understanding. The second one you're giving up, understanding, I don't want to be reborn again and again and again under the control of these negative emotions. So that's what you're renouncing. You're renouncing even a good life. Imagine that, right? So then we talk about liberation from wrong views and unhelpful or negative emotions, and that is called nirvana. Right? So then it says, if you are attached to your own kind of liberation, well-being, you're not a Mahayanist, right? So like you don't have bodhicitta, let's say, you're not so concerned about others. And then if you have very strong views, then you don't have the middle way. You haven't really understood what the Buddha is saying, right? So this is, you see, we kind of give up this that we like now for something better in the future. Then we give up this for, again, something better in the future, like renouncing. And actually in daily life, we do it all the time. The moment you feel that there is a better iPhone or what else, a computer or whatever, and you have the ability to buy a new one, you give it up, you buy a new one. When we were young, we were attached to things that now somebody would give it to us. We would be happy, and we would see that they knew us when we were small. They remember that we liked that when we were small, but we don't like it anymore. So giving up something that we like now, something maybe it's difficult, if you don't have anything better to replace it with, I think is impossible. So this is why renunciation may be not such a good word, because renunciation is it sounds a bit like a punishment. You don't deserve to have this, so then you have to renounce it, so give it up. You need to have something better in the future. And then, of course, you can say, oh, that's also attachment. Yeah, but it is a better attachment. Is all clear until now? Otherwise, if you have questions to what I said, then you can just ask that in the chat also. Otherwise, if it's all clear, then we can go to the precepts, because I'm also supposed to kind of talk about precepts. Vows that we can take on very powerful days. And I think that Yom Kippur is a very powerful day because many people... can you please summarize the 4 attachments? Yes, I can, because I did actually copy them out somewhere. And maybe I find them. Yeah, there you go. Oh, I have to share the screen. Then you can have a look at them. There you go. If you're attached to this life, you are not a true spiritual practitioner. Oh, it uses the word true, which I didn't use. If you're attached to samsara, you have no renunciation. If you're attached to your own self-interest, you have no bodhicitta. And if there is grasping, you do not have the view. And Geshe Pema Dorje, he was teaching on that during Corona time. I remember, and then this was the description, because I was leading the meditations and the reflections. So these 4 lines show us the steps we have to take, but it's really one after the other. You know, so that's a skillful way of renouncing things, not just to throw out everything and then you think, okay, now I will not be attached anymore. You can have nothing and be very attached. You can have a lot of stuff and you're not attached at all. So it doesn't mean that people have a lot of things. It doesn't mean you're attached. Maybe you just have a lot of things, then you can give them away, or you just keep them, or whatever. Somebody comes and needs something, you give it. No, you're not attached, right? So these 4 lines show us the steps we have to take from being an ordinary person who is just concerned with the happiness of this life to be concerned about how to attain another precious human rebirth. Means first we have to give up unethical conduct, harming others. That's the first thing we do. Like doing actions when there is a klesha, maybe you know the word klesha, or nyomon, when there's a klesha present. Now, usually it's translated negative, positive emotions and all these kind of things. But a klesha or a nyomon means there's an attitude, or there is attitude is a good thing, or an emotion that is, your mind is agitated and it doesn't see clearly. So doing actions when there is a mind that pushes behind to do the action with the body and with the speech, that is not clear and definitely only concerned about you and not concerned about the other, then it creates an imprint, a potential on the mind, which ripens as something that then a result that we don't like, right? So if you want a good existence next time, the good thing is it makes you an ethical person already now. So, I mean, how can it be harmful to be an ethical person? Maybe people will look at you as somebody being stupid, naive, a friar or whatever, but it doesn't harm anybody. If somebody sees you as a friar, if it's not your partner or your children or whatever, somebody that is not close to you, who cares? So it's like this. So don't forget, ethical conduct is not harmful. Might also not be helpful, but it's definitely not harmful. And that's the first step, right? So then it will create a precious human rebirth where we can practice again. So we don't just want to have a good time. We want to have a situation where we can continue with the practice. Then the next one is to give up samsara, giving up the kleshas. That means, that's the next one, we're interested in liberation. We are interested in being free from being controlled by self-concern and self-cherishing. and then all the way to become a fully enlightened Buddha, so we can be of real benefit to all sentient beings. Of course, this is not something that everybody wants, to be of real benefit to all sentient beings. That's, again, very, very personal. Being a Buddhist, for us, very personal. Having goals in our life is very personal. You need to find them meaningful. And if you find them meaningful and they're not harmful, I think it's already a good thing. It's okay like this. Can I close it? Yeah? Okay. Okay, so habits and tendencies, this is what we suffer from. That even if we decide to be very ethical and very kind and very, very truthful, and but don't forget with the truth also, try to find a truth that doesn't hurt the other person. And also, if somebody doesn't ask you your opinion, you don't have to tell them that you think that they're really stupid or whatever. If they ask you, okay. If they don't ask you, what's the need for you to tell them? It's not lying if they're not asking you anything, okay? So we have the possibility in Buddhism, and I'm pretty sure in other traditions maybe also, but I don't know them, and I don't need to know these other traditions also, so it's fine. We have the possibility to do purification. So there is huge array of purification practices. So one thing that is really important is what is called, you bring in the 4 opponent factors. And just briefly and simply, you have to recognize that we are behaving in a way that is not according with our values. Do we agree that we do that? Do we agree that if we could be different, like always calm, always peaceful, always ethical, always non-harming, do we agree that we would like to do that, to be that? Not sure? Me, yes. You maybe not sure, okay. But then we don't, right? So then we have to bring in regret, that I want to be in a certain way, but I am not, and I regret. And it has nothing to do with guilt and with shame and whatever. And last Saturday, we talked a lot about, confessing, going to confess to others and all this. And I said, well, I don't know, sometimes this is a little bit dangerous. And so we had different views on this. And we will discuss this further tomorrow anyway, when you have heard somebody, what would be a skillful way to do. So, but first, when we do purification practices, we just acknowledge to ourselves, I do actions that are not helpful and that are under the control of negative emotions and that are done not with a very calm mind. So that's the first step. It's called regret or acknowledgement or whatever. Then the second part of these 4 opponent powers is you need to have somebody who tells you what to do, So this is usually, it's kind of, in our case, it's the Buddha. It's the Buddha who says, look, when you do this action, this will happen. When you do that action, this will happen. Not to punish you, but it's just a natural consequence. So we need to trust that. Like also, what I always use as example, if you go to India, and I'm pretty sure many of you have been to India, so you're not drinking tap water, isn't it? Is it? Yeah. Why? You say, because I know that the water is contaminated, I can get sick. Why do you know that? Because somebody told you. You didn't find this out. The water doesn't taste different, it doesn't look different from our tap water, but we don't drink it. Why? Because we trust what somebody said, who kind of found out through science, experience, that if I drink the water, I get diarrhea, I got stomach problems, I get typhoid, and what have you. So that's, in our case, it's the Buddha. When the Buddha says, if you do this, this happens. If you do that, then this happens. Like positive, negative actions. Happiness and suffering. When the Buddha says, mind is chief, if you act with a kind mind, happiness will follow like the shadow follows the body. He says also, mind is chief, if you act with the harmful mind, suffering will follow, like the hoof of, not like the wheel follows the hoof of the ox, right? Kind of inevitable. So we can trust or we can not trust. We don't know. But so again, it's up to us. So the Buddha gives us methods, and one of them is taking vows. One of them is taking precepts, right? So the action, which is the third opponent power, is taking the precepts and keeping them. And then the fourth opponent power, in order to weaken and then eliminate these habits and tendencies that we have, is a determination to be more mindful, to be more careful, and when we feel that the negative emotion is coming up, not to say anything or not to do anything. Okay, is that okay? That clear? Again, it's not a teaching. I have 1 hour, to explain renunciation and vows is like, But if you are interested, and if you find this really helpful, then just go to Buddhist courses and read Buddhist books and all this, and it has to be discussed. And, there's a lot of things to say for that. So the vows that we are going to take, and I also pulled them out. So we will take them this evening at 6:30 for those who are interested. So of course, they are Buddhist vows, but it is totally okay. And you start by saying, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, in the Guru, and all these kinds of things, which if you're not Buddhist and you've never done that, is very strange. It's like as if I go now to the synagogue and I say whatever they will be saying this evening also, even in English, it would sound strange to me because I have no relationship. But this is just like the framework. It's just a preparation for the mind when you have a relationship with the Buddha, with the Dharma, with the Sangha, when you have a relationship like a connection to practices like the four immeasurables of, loving kindness, compassion, joy and equanimity, when you have a connection with the 7 limbs that actually we talked about last Saturday, to create positive minds, then it makes sense. Otherwise, it doesn't really make much sense. So you could take these vows, even if you don't, the preliminary, even if you don't understand anything, that's okay. The main thing is the vow, and the main thing is really the attitude. I want to be able to not be I want to be able not to be under the control of negative emotions anymore. And not just for myself, because it's Mahayana precepts, not just for myself, but in order for others to be protected. Yeah. So one reason is we're taking vows in order to purify our negative potentials that we have so we don't suffer in the future. That's very good, right? This is already is a good thing. Imagine how the world would look if everybody would be ethical because they are afraid of having to bear the consequences for themselves. If we can make it wider and we think I will take these vows or these precepts because I don't want to hurt others, because not all of it, but some of it kind of hurts others. Other precepts work against our attachments and unhealthy desires or whatever. So they're quite simple, actually, So then one is from tonight until tomorrow evening. So during the time of Yom Kippur, I shall not kill. I shall not steal others' possessions. I shall not engage in sexual activity. I shall not speak false words. I shall avoid intoxicants, which makes the mind, so means alcohol and drugs and all these kinds of things, which make the mind really, from which many mistakes arise, like the intoxicants. I shall not sit on large and high seats and beds. That's for us very easy to keep, unless you have like, thrones and things like that. This is a very Tibetan thing. So it's one precept and one vow, which is very easy to keep because we can't break it. So it actually has very little benefit. Yeah. So, but anyway, it's here, so we say it. And I shall not eat food at the wrong times. So that's probably the biggest one in these 8 Mahayana precepts, that usually, actually, we take them every full moon and every new moon on Zoom. Yeah, if you are interested in taking them again, then you, by all means, you're welcome to do that. So then you decide. Usually the Buddhist fast on full moon and new moon, if you take precepts, is that you are only eating 1 meal a day, or sometimes maybe 2 if it's absolutely necessary, like morning and lunch. You're not eating after afternoon and evening. The thing is, the Buddhist day starts in the morning. The Jewish day starts in the evening. So this is why we will take these vows this evening. I checked with some lamas, is it okay? They said, yeah, it's fine. And then they for 24 hours, they finish tomorrow evening. So you decide whether you want to do the Yom Kippur fast. And I tell you, I think it will really help you if you decide, yes, I really want to do the full fast. I want to purify negative karma, or for whatever reason you want to fast. Dedicated totally for the war to finish, dedicated totally for the hostages to be released, dedicated totally for the government to whatever. I can't say change because otherwise I'm taking sides, which I don't want to. For the government to make skillful decisions so that there will be peace, whatever. You can dedicate it for whatever this fast, because it needs to have a reason, it needs to have a purpose. If you just dedicate it so I will lose like 200 grams, maybe not so meaningful, it will be a side effect, it's okay. Also, so if you take vows, it's much easier to keep. Yeah, and you take the vows as a Buddhist, you receive these vows from the Buddha, which is also your guru. So then again, it's like making a promise, much easier to keep vows. So it's very skillful, this whole thing, I find. So you decide whether you want to do, you will then tonight, if you are taking the precepts, if you want to, you can say, I will do the full Jewish Yom Kippur fast, or I will do the Buddhist fast. If you do the Buddhist fast, because it's a bit different, so from the moment you take precepts, you're not eating anymore until tomorrow morning, right? And then you have breakfast, but you don't have lunch. You can drink as much as you want, but not, not smoothies and not fruit juices with pulp in it and not full milk, all right? Okay, again, don't make that the main thing in taking the vows. It's like, yes, it's good to keep this, but don't make it too important. But, try to keep it. Just eating 1 meal a day, and then the vows finish in the evening, 10 to 7, I think. Yom Kippur is finished, and then you can act normally again. Then I shall avoid perfumes, garlands, and ornaments. Also, this has to do with attachment, as well as dancing, singing, and so forth. This is, not to have distractions. It's to come inside and not to take refuge in, putting on TV. Well, you can't. You can, but there's probably nothing on, and all these just to be with yourself, and just to be mindful and aware, and to be very happy and very joyful that you made a decision to spend this day really mindfully, because taking vows, you have to spend the day in a mindful way. Well, the sun is so like this. Just as the Arhats never kill and so forth, so too shall I abandon killing and so forth. May I quickly attain supreme enlightenment. May I free this world, disturbed by much suffering from the ocean of existence. So that's the main thing. And the benefit from this is immense, because you purify negative karma and you create a lot of positive energy. So actually, Lama Zopa Rinpoche also, there is a thing like the benefits on taking vows. It's always good to know the benefits. You know, giving something up is always good to know what will be the good thing that comes out of it. So the benefit of abandoning taking life, and this goes for everything, right? It's like also insects and things like that. Of course, if your house is infested by cockroaches or whatever, you need to do something, but don't do it the day when you take vows, okay? So in this life and in all future life, one's life will be long, magnificent, and free from illness. Then the benefits from abandoning taking what is not given. In this life and in all future lives, one will have perfect enjoyments, and others will not harm them. Then the benefits of abandoning the sexual act. In this life and in all future lives, one will have good body with beautiful complexion and complete sense organs. Again, you know, you want to have these things in order to be able to benefit others, not just for yourself. Because then, if it's just for yourself, it will finish and you have to start again. Then the benefit of abandoning lies. In this life and in all future lives, one will not be cheated and others will take heed of what one says. It's called the power of speech. And I said to some of you guys who go to the demonstrations since years every Saturday, and nobody listens to what you say, even if you shout. I said, maybe good to do some purification for the power of speech, so that somebody will listen to you. So one of them is like abandoning lies, of course, and taking precepts. So then the benefits of abandoning intoxicants, so that includes alcohol, cigarettes, other mind-altering drugs. In this life and in all future lives, one will have stable mindfulness and awareness, clear senses and perfect wisdom. Then in this life and in all future lives, one will receive praise and respect from others and will have proper bedding, soft, warm, whatever is needed, and vehicles and animals for traveling. So that's a good thing, you know. I never sleep in a bed that is mine, because I don't have a bed, but all the beds I sleep in, I'm very, very comfortable, I have to say, really. So some kind of situation like this you are creating. Saying in this life and in all future lives, from abandoning food, one will have abundant and perfect crops and will obtain food and drink without effort. Then the benefits of abandoning perfume, ornaments, and so on. In this life and in all future lives, one's body will have a pleasant smell, color, and shape, and many auspicious marks. And then the benefits of abandoning singing and dancing. In this life and in all future lives, one will have a subdued body and mind, and one's speech will continually make the sound of Dharma. Then, if one takes precepts, sometimes we break them. So again, you can repair them, so that's the good thing. But if you break the precepts kind of by saying, oh, I just break it now, and then I repair it, and then I can take it again, you know, the motivation is not pure. So don't forget, the Buddha is not watching you and judging, right? Your own mind knows if you're honestly wanting to take the precept, if you honestly want to keep them, what is your motivation and all these kinds of things. Okay, what else is it telling you? Therefore, one must protect these vows with mindfulness and awareness. If through carelessness the vows are degenerated, you should recite the mantra of pure morality 3 times to purify, restore them. Again, this is for the Buddhists. You can just regret, make a determination to be more mindful, and maybe do an action that opposes that one, because the whole thing has to be meaningful. And at the beginning of this text, when we take these precepts, we will, this evening, when we take them, I have a whole hour. Usually it takes like half an hour to take them. So if you are interested in taking the precepts and you have questions, You can bring them at 6:30, and we will first look at the questions and the doubts and insecurities and all that. And then for those who want to take the precepts, we will take the precepts. You can have all the questions and then say, no, thank you, I don't want to take the precepts, this is fine. This is also done, if you would be on site, if we would be in Stebokar, it would be the same way, just briefly explaining a little bit why one is taking precepts in order to purify negative karma, in order to create the merit we need in order to achieve what we want to achieve. And so here it says, from the Sutra of the King of Concentration, though you offer service with a calm mind 100 billion times 10 million Buddhas with food and drink, umbrellas, flags, garlands of light offerings, which is very good to make offerings to the Buddhas, right? Creates a lot of merit. If you do that for 10 million eons, equaling the number of sand grains in the Pacific Ocean, as you can see, the Buddhists are thinking very big. There's no small things there. So the merit of someone enjoying living in one vow, just one, and we're taking 8, for one day and night, when the Holy Dharma is degenerating and the teachings of the one gone to bliss are ceasing, is particularly more exalted than that. So the more difficult the times are, the more beneficial it is to take precepts. Now, please, I don't want to manipulate you into anything you don't want. It is your decision. Wow, David, you noticed I finished in 1 hour. I don't know if you're very confused, maybe that is very possible, I don't know. But again, you are very welcome to then, if you want to discuss precepts and vows, you are very welcome to turn on the computer again at 6:30. Actually, I was very happy. Ronnie told me that there's also, I think the synagogue starts at 6:30 also. So then people make a clear decision. I want to do the Jewish one, or I want to do more the Buddhist one. So that's a good thing. It's not, you're not going to do both, because that would be maybe a little bit confusing. I'm not sure. But anyway, so 6:30, we can discuss more about these precepts. You can ask all your questions. If you want to take them, we will take them together as object of refuge. It can be the Buddha, or it can be any other, you can have a source of light, you can have kindness, you can have, behind me is the Buddha of compassion, is Chenresig. It's up to you. The main thing is that this is important also for taking vows, you're taking some kind of something, energy, being, whatever, that you think will help you to be able to keep these vows. Somebody that you trust, a source of strength and inspiration, which we need in our spiritual practice. All right? We have 2 more minutes. You can ask a question if you want, or David can say something.
אף אחד לא רוצה לשאול שאלה? Okay, it seemed that everything was very clear, Anila, and maybe they're saving their questions for 6:30. I'll just remind everybody that we'll have a short talk and a meditation at 4 o'clock until 4:30. So we can enjoy 31 instead of 30-minute break. If you don't have anything to add, Anila.
Well, it's okay. I have 29 here. It's like
Yeah.
okay. All right. So thank you very much for listening. Maybe I'll see you, as I said, 6:30, where we can all your doubts or whatever. Even if you say this is, whatever is on your mind that you would like to know about precepts. Then we go through the text very slowly. Whatever you don't like, we leave out, or you leave out, and then we rejoice. This is the thing, it's so easy. Actually, when you do take vows and you're able to keep them, it creates immediate joy. And I can tell you from experience, it creates a lot of, not happiness, like, oh, everything is okay, but kind of this very quiet, very spacious joy. Okay, well, yeah. So anyway, my plane ticket is paid, is fine, don't worry. I'm here, I can go back home. It's like, this whole thing about, if you give, again, don't feel pressured into giving. If you give, be happy that you have something to give. If you give with the, like, kind of, wow, it's so nice, not with the kind, oh, I give as little as it's still okay. It's not a good mind. It doesn't create joy. This is the thing. So whatever you give to, and I do trust the karma of generosity, like, it's okay. Please don't feel pressured, and please don't go into, oh, why didn't they do an insurance, blah, blah, blah. None of your business. Yeah, it was very difficult for them to make the decision. So please also don't go into, yeah, but it's okay, never anything happening there, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't create a happy mind. So let go. They didn't take it lightly. This is why they did wait so long. It was very difficult for them to make decision. And I understand, because I tell you why. Because when people are in a group, they become different people. If you are an individual going to Steboker, something is happening, like, sirens, and you have to run and all this, and you fall down the steps, you kind of look, what can I do now? If you go as a member of a group, you expect the group to do something for you. And it's too difficult at the moment. It is too difficult. So we really have to learn, even if when we are in groups, kind of to really see how can I contribute so that the situation becomes less difficult. Unfortunately, very often, maybe you are very responsible, but unfortunately, very often, the moment people are in a group, they forget this individual responsibility and they make one person responsible and expect them to look after them. Do you agree? That's how it is. That's how we are. I sit in an airport, the plane is not going. People in a group, they run to one person, the guide, do something. I booked my own plane ticket. I'm just sitting there waiting for the plane to come, totally calm, not blaming anybody. But somehow we become different people in a group. The leader is responsible, the guide. Okay, so I'll see you again soon at 6:30, and thank you very much anyway for listening. Bye.
Thank you, אנילה. מוזמנים ב4. להתראות.